Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are taking a fresh look at the rubella virus. Now, this is a pathogen whose entire story has been rewritten by vaccines. What used to be a standard childhood illness is now really defined by a single devastating threat. Its absolutely catastrophic impact on an unborn child. So let's get into why, even in this post-vaccine world, this now rare virus still demands our constant attention.
Let's just start with this number right here, over 99%. That is the staggering drop in rubella cases here in the Netherlands since we started vaccinating. And look, that's not just a statistic on a slide. It's the result of a focused, multi-decade public health effort that has almost completely wiped out this virus and its most terrible consequences. That's a massive win.
So how did we get here? Well, this whole success story is really built on two things: a deep scientific understanding of the virus itself and a really robust national vaccination program. But to truly appreciate where we are now, we have to understand the agent we've managed to bring to heal.
Okay, let's get into the microbiology for a second. This is a crucial update for anyone in the field. The virus has been taxonomically reclassified. Now, moving it from Togaviridae to its very own family, Notoriously, might sound like just shuffling papers, but it's not. It actually reflects a much deeper understanding of its unique genetic makeup and how it replicates. It really sets it apart from its old viral relatives.
The real engine behind all this success has been the RVP, the Dutch National Vaccination Program. And you can really see on this timeline how its strategy has sharpened over the years. It started by just targeting girls to protect future pregnancies. Then it went to the universal MMR program for all kids. And now you see this plan change for 2025 to close that immunity gap even sooner. It's a program that learns and adapts.
But this triumph isn't perfect. This outbreak from back in 2004 is just a brutal reminder that when vaccination rates dip, the virus is right there, waiting. 11 children were born with permanent, life-altering disabilities. Why? Because the virus found a small pocket of people who are vulnerable. And that single event, really, it pivots the entire modern conversation we have about rubella.
And that brings us to the modern threat. Let's dig into how this disease went from being about a mild rash to being about one of the most catastrophic outcomes in infectious disease. You see, in the post-vaccine era, we're not worried about the rash anymore. We're worried about the pregnancy.
The difference between getting rubella as a kid and a fetus getting it in utero, well, it's night and day. We're not even in the same ballpark. On one hand, you have a mild fever and a rash that's gone in a few days. On the other, you have a multi-system disease that causes permanent, devastating damage. It's a completely different beast.
Now look at this chart. This visualizes exactly why timing is everything. The risk of severe damage is just overwhelmingly concentrated in early pregnancy. An infection in that first trimester, we're talking up to a 90% chance of causing serious birth defects. Then you see that risk just plummet as the pregnancy goes on. Those first 12 weeks are an incredibly dangerous, vulnerable window.
So what does that damage actually look like? Well, the virus is just brutal during organogenesis. It's a systemic attack. It can lead to deafness, blindness, serious heart defects, neurological problems. I mean, a baby born with CRS could need a lifetime of intensive care from cardiologists, ophthalmologists, neurologists, the list goes on. And here's the hardest part. There is no cure. There's no way to undo the damage once it's done in the womb. We can't fix CRS. We can only try to manage its consequences for the rest of a person's life. And that reality, that therapeutic void, it makes prevention and, as we're about to see, a definitive, rapid diagnosis absolutely critical. So this is where we, as microbiologists, come in. This is our moment, because with the stakes this high, a guess, a clinical hunch, it is absolutely not good enough.
This quote just nails the modern reality of rubella. I mean, think about it. There are so many other viruses that cause a similar-looking rash. Parvovirus B19, enteroviruses. So just looking at a patient is completely unreliable. In a place where rubella is rare, the chance that a rash is actually rubella is incredibly low. The lab result is everything.
Okay, so these are the tools in our toolkit. For us in the lab, the real challenge isn't just running the test. It's picking the right one and, more importantly, interpreting those results correctly based on the patient's vaccination history. You know, you have to ask yourself, is that positive IgG just proof of immunity, or is it the first data point in a fourfold rise that means a new infection? Is the IgM negative because it's not rubella, or because it's a weird breakthrough infection? These are the questions that matter. And all of this brings us to the very structured Dutch approach for handling the absolute highest risk scenario, a pregnant woman who's been exposed to rubella virus. This isn't about improvising. There's a clear, evidence-based playbook to follow.
The RIVM protocol is a really clear step-by-step algorithm designed for one thing: speed and decisive action. First thing you do, immediately test for IgG to see if she's immune. If she is, great, crisis over. If she's not, the clock starts ticking. That follow-up sample a few weeks later is the critical moment. That's when you're looking for seroconversion, the absolute proof of a new infection, which then kicks off some very urgent counseling for the patient.
So, even with a clear playbook, we can't get complacent. The threat hasn't just disappeared. In fact, our very success against rubella has created a whole new set of modern challenges that mean we have to stay constantly on our guard.
And these are the vulnerabilities we're dealing with now. We've got to think about waning immunity in adults vaccinated decades ago, the constant risk of the virus being imported from other countries, and those pockets of under-vaccination that can become fuel for an outbreak. But maybe the biggest challenge of all is just keeping up our expertise and awareness for a disease that most doctors today will never, ever see in their careers.
Just a quick note on our sources for this. This whole briefing was put together using a Gemini deep search. For anyone who really wants to dive into the primary literature, a full list of sources is right there for you in the linked Notebook LM document.
Which brings us to our final thought. We've managed to tame the rubella virus. Sure, but we haven't declawed it. In a world where we've been overwhelmingly successful, how do we make sure our clinical suspicion, our lab readiness, and our public health systems stay sharp enough to prevent its devastating, even if very rare, bite?
If you found this deep dive into the modern challenges of rubella virus helpful, please subscribe for more briefings on clinical microbiology. And I'm curious, how does your institution maintain vigilance for these rare but super high-impact pathogens? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching.